Ricky Fletcher is the name that is on the tip of every tongue on the Ole Miss fan base right now. Let's talk to Michael Katz about practice today.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. I'm your host, Steven Willis, and we will bring in Michael Katz in just a second from the Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal. He does a fantastic job covering Ole Miss to recap what he saw at practice today. Thanks for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day, and please give us a like, subscribe, and comment on your way out. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Ole Miss had practice today. That's not really a big news at this point, but they did have practice today. Let's bring in Michael Katz and figure out how it went. Michael, the name that is bounding around, and I hear it over and over and over again. People are texting me and all of that stuff. The name Ricky Fletcher. He's kind of the revelation of fall camp so far, even if we're just a weekend and they're doing shorts and shirts and all of that stuff. Although they wore shorter pads today, so it's getting closer to real football.
It's funny you bring that up because there was a portion of practice where I was like, is Trey Amos back here? Like, because I was like a number 9 who's like a bigger guy, similar body type. I think Fletcher might be a little bit taller actually. But the same kind of build, I was like, that looks like a dude, and it makes you do a double take at the roster and like, oh, this is who that is. It is a whole new. There's a lot of new in that secondary, and I think there's a lot of opportunities for guys to maybe step up who we weren't thinking about, or maybe weren't at the top of our heads. He seems to be a guy that's really made the most of it. There's a couple guys, obviously him. Taj Chambers is a guy at linebacker who has looked really, really good. There's some injuries there, and he's stepped up. But Ricky Fletcher, he looks the part, and I think again, you're gonna need as many guys as you can who can contribute there. And at least again, we're 4 or 5 practices in now, whatever it is. He looks like a dude.
Yeah, if they didn't have confidence in him, they would not have moved Jalen Braxton to safety. Jalen Braxton would have stayed at cornerback. So that should tell you at least what the staff thinks. When he has a single-digit number, all of a sudden that tells you another thing. That's the most valuable real estate to a skill player on the team, a single-digit number. So that kind of lets you know that, listen, we went into this season saying that Ole Miss needs to figure out this secondary, and they still need to figure out the secondary. There's 5 positions back there, but at least one spot, they're feeling better and better by the practice.
No, for sure. And, a guy who maybe it's my fault. I kind of forgot about Chris Graves is out there. He was a really talented kid, and he's going to be counted on too. He's looking good in his reps. There's just so many guys. I think that last year we got so used to like the same names. It was always Trey Amos, and then that other corner spot was like a revolving door of 3 guys with Isaiah Hamilton and Brandon Turnage and sometimes Jayden Kennedy. Everybody, it's just there's so much new. I think guys like Graves and Fletcher and some of these young guys are going to have a chance. It's like Chris Graves still is a young guy. He's only a junior. Yeah. There's opportunity abounds, and I know that can be kind of a nerve-wracking for a coaching staff, but even like Lane said it on the first day, and I think he said it at media days too, like it's exciting. And I think part of that too is because it's not just new players, but they're talented new players. If they were bums, yeah, you'd probably be worried about all this new, but they didn't get bums. They got good players.
Yeah, and one of the rumors that got sent to me, and rumors come in all the time. Some of them are right, some of them are wrong. But one of them that's at least entertaining that I'm kind of paying attention to as fall camp happens is the other side of Ricky Fletcher. Let's say Ricky Fletcher lines up in that Trey Amos position, that Chris Graves and Antonio Kite and all those guys, they're all competing for that number 8 jersey. Whoever wins the job is going to get that number 8 jersey. I don't know if it's true. I kind of want it to be, though.
Well, hey, you know what? It's this camp. Lane said this is a group that needs to be competitive and bring it every day. And if that's what you need, like if that's what's going to drive that competition, why wouldn't you do it? You gotta give guys every sort of chip on their shoulder you can.
All right. So outside of the secondary, what was the main takeaway from today's viewing or press conferences?
I was I'm a lineman at heart back in my heavier days, and I was watching the lineman a little bit today, and PJ Wilkins was getting after it. He plays with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. I was, again, a lot of new roster guys and trying to figure out who's who. But at one point I was like, man, 71's really playing through the whistle. And I was like, it was either him or Townsend. And Townsend's also looked very good as well. I think that, again, we've gotten so used to the same names on this offensive line for so many years. But these new pieces, I know a lot of, when they brought in all these new defenders last year, and Lane was like, we look like an SEC team now, right? Like that, they looked the part. I'm not saying that they're going to have that same impact with these new offensive linemen, but this offensive line looks the part. They're big, they're athletic, and they've got a lot of experience. Maybe not at Ole Miss, but at a lot of different places. Brycen Sanders, again, he's a young guy, but he again looks the part, and he's a guy they've been growing into this role. I think that group, obviously, listen, every team is better when your offensive line is good. That's not rocket science, but I think that this group has a chance to be pretty good. I really do.
Yeah, and last year, to me, like I said, it's just my opinion, it feels like they got a little bit too obsessed with weight. It felt like it was trending that way, like for 3 years in a row. It all started with the first offensive line coach, Randy something. Clements at Ole Miss, and they started to get obsessed with weight and all of that. And it feels like this year they went with physicality and athletic ability in this transfer portal, and we'll see if that pays dividends.
No, for sure. And another guy there to watch, or who I've been keeping tabs on, is Jayden Williams. Like, what a crazy career he has had. I sat down with him a couple days ago, and he's really open about his journey of, like, he's just starting left tackle, and then he gets basically benched for an entire year. And then he comes back and he's the starter, and he gets hurt, and he misses pretty much all of SEC play. I think he's a guy who he's grown up a lot, and he said that. He told us that during the last year that he had some growing up to do. He's a guy that I think, we've seen it in spurts. He's a big guy, but he's got good feet. He's athletic. He's not one of those hulking tackles that can't move. I mean, he's got some athleticism to him. I think he's going to be a really big part of this if he can stay healthy.
Yeah, it looks like it, and I think he's on the right side as well, looking at it, because we were talking about him and Diego Pounds. They both played left tackle a year ago. A lot of that would come down to which one has the ability to be ambidextrous and which one has more trouble with that move. And at least in the early part, Jayden Williams is getting a shot at it.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, if you've got two guys who have played left tackle in the SEC, you got to feel pretty good about that group. And I know they really focused on the interior of the line this transfer portal season as well. And again, it's been only a few days, but it looks like that's probably going to pay off too.
And Ole Miss fans should probably take heart a little bit, because if Delano Thompson gets in there, Townsend, if PJ Wilkins gets it, if Devin Harper is coming along like they think he is, that is 3 players with 3 years of eligibility or more at their disposal.
Yeah, and again, I think that a lot of time we think of the transfer portal as like a 1-year deal where you're just trying to get a guy for a year. You go all in, and like last year with Princely and Walter Nolan and Trey Amos. But in a perfect world, you get talented guys who have multiple years left. And it seems like a lot of the guys that they got this year, this isn't just a 1-year thing to stopgap and then do it again next year. I think that they got these guys to grow with.
All right, coming up next, I will ask Michael all about the wide receiver positions. Zaya Hartrong, Caleb Cunningham, those are a couple of names that I am curious about. But first, I do want to tell you about Drip Drop. When I'm on top of my hydration, I notice everything works better. My energy, my mood, my focus, even my skin. But getting enough fluids every day, it's not always the easiest thing. That is why I've been loving some Drip Drop, especially in this heat. Drip Drop is a doctor developed and scientifically proven drink for fast hydration. It uses the perfect balance of sodium electrolytes and glucose to help your body absorb fluids quickly, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half of the sugar of the leading sports drink. My go-to flavor is orange. Yeah, I live in Florida. Of course it's orange. It is a game changer after my daily walk in the intense Florida sunshine and helps me keep feeling great. Right now, Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Just head to dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege. That's all one word. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Stock up now before the heat hits. Well, hits harder. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories and not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That is where GameTime comes in. GameTime makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop the closer it gets to showtime, and you can save up to 60% with their killer last-minute deals. With GameTime, the price you see is the price you pay. There are no hidden fees. So if you're worried about what happens if your plans change when you have tickets to a show, the GameTime guarantee has your back with cancellation protection and more. So take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the GameTime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So, Michael, whenever you look at this wide receiver unit, the fun thing is like Isaiah Hartran was a player that transferred a year ago. He was injured basically the whole season. That's a name you're hearing during fall camp. Caleb Cunningham is a name that you want to hear about. He was clocked at a pretty high rate of speed in summer workouts. At least that's the rumor. What are some of the wide receiver names that you're seeing and is flashing on a daily basis?
Well, I mean, I immediately go to Stribling just because he is one of those guys who he just looks like an SEC receiver. He looks like he is going to fit right into what they need him to do. That's not a surprise. He's obviously produced at a high level for a while in college. I think he's going to be a really nice fit. I know that I posted that video of Dylan Alfred the other day of him catching that pass from Simmons, and it wasn't just that. He's stood out too, and he's one of those young guys that, again, we've talked a lot about Caleb Cunningham and guys like that. He's looked kind of nice. He's looked like it's hard to say with how deep this room is, how much any of the freshmen are going to contribute, but he's not looked out of place. We talked to Treylon Ray today for the first time. He was great. He was a great interview. Again, he's a guy who has produced at a pretty high level. He was a big recruit coming out of Tallahassee. He's part of this huge transfer portal receiver room. And I asked them, I was like, weren't you like scared off by them bringing in all of these receivers? Like, you guys are all fighting for catches. And he's like, you don't get better if you don't compete. Like, that's just how it goes. And I was like, that's the kind of mindset that you want to hear from your receivers who, are all, everybody wants the ball. Everybody's trying to get drafted and all these sorts of things. But when it can work to your advantage in terms of competing against each other every day, I think that's a really good sign. Harrison Wallace III, again, he's a guy that we talked about in the spring too. He just looks so natural out there. And again, not a surprise. He was a 700-plus yard receiver on a college football playoff team, the leading wide receiver for that team. Obviously, they had a All-American tight end over there who got a lot of those passes at Penn State. But Harrison Wallace III was their number one wideout for the most part, and it looks seamless. It's I don't think it's fair to expect this group to immediately be Trey Harrison, Jordan Watkins, and Juice Wells. But listen, you know what you have in Cayden Lee. And he somehow always gets forgotten. Mm-hmm. But he just keeps doing his thing. He's always going to be really, really good. And then when you add those guys that I just talked about, I don't know if that room's going to be better than it was a year ago, but it might be deeper. And I think that's going to be huge. I think on a given day, you can't cover everybody with your best guys, and you have a bunch of guys who can do a lot of different things. Deuce Alexander, I mean, that's again, there's so many high profile names that can do a lot of things. I think that's going to be and Lane's talked about it. That right now looks like a strength of this team. And again, how many All-Americans are they going to produce? I don't know, but they're going to have a lot of really good receivers who have a lot of catches and a lot of yards.
And when you add the tight ends to that group, Daquan Wright and Caleb Odom now, which, by the way, him moving to tight ends, a sneaky large storyline of this fall camp because of the matchup problem that he can be.
100%. And let's be honest, with how deep that wide receiver room is, there's a chance he wasn't going to see as much time at that spot. But if you can get him in the game in another way and let him be a matchup problem, Lane Kiffin's and Charlie Weiss are going to take advantage of that every single time.
Yeah, you're a USC guy. Lane Kiffin cut his teeth as an offensive coach under Norm Chow at USC, who learned from Lavelle Edwards, who learned from Bill Walsh. There's a lot of West Coast thing. They like to play matchup football, and that is what Lane is trying to recreate. In my opinion, I think Lane is trying to recreate what he had in 2003, 2004, the modern version of that. You look at a Kejuan Lacey, who is the explosive running back. They've been looking for the thumper ever since Quinshawn left. The tight ends are there, the wide receivers. Obviously, the USC team was one of the best in college football history. I'm not comparing it apples to apples, but stylistically, I think that is where we're headed when you have a quarterback like Austin Simmons, who honestly can do a lot of the same stuff that Matt Leinart did.
I say both lefties too.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see exactly what happened. All right, before I let you out of here, time for a little bit of fun. What is the most unexpected name that you heard today at practice?
I am going to say, I don't know if it's surprising, but again, a guy I forget about, Shekai Mills-Knight. I kind of forgot about him because, again, they brought in so many running backs, and we've been talking about Lacey and Damian Taylor and Logan Diggs, who have all obviously played big-time college football before. I literally today, I was like, wait, who's number 24? And I was like, oh, my gosh, that's the 4-star superstar running back who
the Navy All-American.
Who's going to be extremely good when it's his time. Obviously it's a little different than the Quinshawn situation because he didn't get here in the spring like Quinshawn did, and I think that was huge for Quinshawn in terms of just adjustment. But man, again, a guy I forgot about, and I just feel like he's going to have a game this year where people go, wow, there's a reason that he was an All-American.
Yeah, it's like whenever they play Georgia State in the fourth quarter, he'll have like 7 carries for 65 yards. I expect something like that.
Yep, 100%. And you know what? Maybe they redshirt him or whatever ends up happening, but you're going to know that, like, hey, here was the guy who is really, really good if you need him.
All right, and I think the roster, a kicker from Jackson State or something like that. Did you hear anything about that?
Well, the huge issue we had today, this is a big reporter injustice, is they switched some numbers up today too. So there were some new numbers. A quarterback had a new number, but it was the same number as a running back. And there was like, okay, well, wait. So how is this possible? That's an SID and a reporter's worst nightmare because we don't know all these guys' faces quite yet. So we're just like, oh my gosh, who is quarterback number 12 now? I can tell you it's not Damian Taylor and it's not Andrew Jones. So who is this man?
Yeah, well, I don't guess it's Trinidad Chambliss because he has the single-digit number. We already talked about that. That's valuable real estate. So who knows? Maybe Malachi Smith decided to move up from number 19 or something like that.
It's again, these are the dog days for all of us.
All right, what do you got going on at the Daily Journal, man?
Just a lot of it's that time we had media days a couple of days ago, so a lot of really cool one-on-one interviews with guys, which we don't always get a lot of. Learned a lot about a lot of different people, which was really, really cool. stuff that I didn't necessarily know about guys that we've talked to. And Cayden Lee, we know him pretty well now, but I got some really cool stuff about him. Same with Austin and Stribling and all those guys. So those stories will be coming out over the next few weeks as camp ramps up. And we're just kind of in preview season, and I think we have 2 or 3 practice viewings next week. So it's just another chance for us to see who's standing out.
And to lose your access, apparently.
Well, not yet. Hey, we've made it through 2. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, everything's subject to change when it comes to this. So thank you very much, Michael, and we'll talk to you later, buddy.
Appreciate you.
All right, thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves on being the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we're the front door of Ole Miss. If you don't believe us, Google Ole Miss podcast and look how much we come up. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment to the show. It is completely free, and it helps us out. Your support means the world to us. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Hit the portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hotty toddy, everyone. And remember, analytics is just the old English word that means bad football. We'll see you tomorrow.